Good evening. City Council is now in session. Please stand for the invocation by Councilperson Butler Barlow, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Creator and sustainer of us all, we are thankful for this day that you have given us, for its blessings, its opportunities, and its challenges, knowing that each of us faces challenges of our own. May we appreciate and value each day that comes to us. We pray for strength and guidance for each day as it comes, for each day's duties, for each day's problems. May we be challenged to give our best always, and may we be assured of your presence with us. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Freedom of Information Act certification is required at this time. Madam Clerk, please present the resolution for consideration.
A resolution certifying the closed meeting of May 3rd, 2023, pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3712. Now therefore be it resolved, the City Council of the City of Suffolk hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements of Virginia law, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the City Council of the City of Suffolk in the closed meeting.
A motion is in order. Councilman Fawcett.
Move to approve, Mayor. Thank
And a
you.
motion for approval from Councilman Fawcett. Councilman Williams.
Second it, Mayor.
Second from Councilman Williams. Is there any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, council members prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, please record the vote.
Motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
Approval of the minutes from the October 5th, 2022 and October 19th, 2022 work sessions and regular meetings is the next item for consideration, and a motion would be in order. Councilman Johnson.
Move to approve.
Got a motion for approval from Councilman Johnson. Councilman Williams.
Second it, Mayor.
Second from Councilman Williams. Is there any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, council members prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, please record the vote.
The motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
We do have special presentations this evening. We have two proclamations. The first is in recognition of National Police Week, and the second will be a proclamation in recognition of National Public Works Week.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, this proclamation is in recognition of National Police Week, which extends from May 14th through May 20th and is observed throughout the Commonwealth and across the nation. At this time, I will ask Police Chief Al Chandler to the podium to receive the proclamation.
Madam Clerk, will you please read the proclamation?
Whereas the United States Congress and the President declared May the 14th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which it falls as Police Week. And whereas the City of Suffolk joins the nation in honoring the memory of those officers who have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their communities. And whereas the City of Suffolk would like to express its gratitude to the city's law enforcement officers for their contributions to Suffolk's quality of life. Now therefore I, Michael D. Duman, Mayor of the City of Suffolk, do hereby proclaim May the 14th, 2023 through May 20th, 2023 as National Police Officer Memorial Week, and call upon all residents to appreciate the contributions of our law enforcement officers in keeping Suffolk safe. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Suffolk to be affixed this 3rd day of May in the year of our Lord, 2023.
Thank you to Mr. Mayor, to our city manager and city council. It is with great pride and reverence that I accept this proclamation on behalf of the Suffolk Police Department to mark this week as National Police Week in our city. This week is not just about the men and women that have donned the uniform in our city. But this is a local gesture with more expansive overtones. In 1962, President John F. Kennedy designated May 15th as Peace Officer Memorial Day. This special observance continues in our nation every year. And this year, some 61 years later, our department will be in Washington, D.C. in attendance as our own Sergeant Joe Rivera is added to the wall of officers who lost their lives in the line of duty. This week is an observance of those who lost their lives protecting and serving. As of today, there have been 33 officers in our nation this year alone who have lost their lives protecting others. And there are hundreds of thousands of officers who continue to wear the badge, answering the call and doing the work and being the guardians of our communities. We in the city of Suffolk are especially blessed to have an amazing group of talented and caring law enforcement professionals who continue to protect our city from law violators. These men and women deserve celebration and honor, and I stand before you today proudly saying from a grateful police department that we appreciate our city standing with us on this very special week. Thank you very much.
Mr. Manager, please provide overview. Next item.
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, this proclamation is recognition of National Public Works Week, which extends from May 21st through May 27th, and again is observed throughout the Commonwealth and across the country. At this time, I would like to call the Director of Public Works, Robert Lewis, to the podium to receive the proclamation along with his staff.
Running all the big guns. How are the mosquitoes doing? I didn't see you.
They're there. They're always there.
That was my best night, learning what a sentinel chicken was. Madam Clerk, please read the proclamation.
Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are important to sustainable and resilient communities, in addition to the public health and well-being of the residents of Suffolk. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services are possible because of the dedicated efforts of the public works professionals who are responsible for constructing, maintaining, and protecting our nation's transportation, solid waste systems, and public buildings. And whereas it is in the community's interest to understand the importance of public works and public works programs. And whereas this year makes the 63rd annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association and the Canadian Public Works Association. Now therefore, I, Michael D. Dooman, Mayor of the City of Suffolk, do hereby proclaim May 21st, 2023 through May 27th, 2023 as National Public Works Week in Suffolk, Virginia. In witness whereof, I've hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Suffolk to be affixed this 3rd day of May in the year of our Lord, 2023.
Thank you very much, sir. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, city staff, and citizens. The American Public Works Association is proud to announce the theme, Connecting the World Through Public Works, for the 2023 National Public Works Week. Public works is the thread that connects us all. No matter where we live in the world, every public works professional strives to improve the quality of life of the community they serve, leading to healthier and happier communities. The Connecting the World Through Public Works theme highlights the way public works professionals connect us physically through infrastructure and inspirationally through service to our communities, whether as first responders or as daily workers carrying out our duties with pride. Public works staff helps keep communities strong by providing an infrastructure of service in transportation, stormwater treatment, mosquito control, fleet maintenance, emergency management and response, solid waste, transit services, asset management, and right-of-way management. They are what makes our community great places in which to live and work. We ask that you all join us in celebrating the quiet work that these professionals do that makes our lives better every day. And council, with me this evening, I do have the management staff of the Public Works Department. These are the men and women that are behind every different division of Public Works that sees to it. We are over 200 strong. These are just happens to be the leaders that are here with us this evening that run these divisions. And again, you will notice I'm not standing in front of them, I'm standing with them because, again, we serve together. I was asked recently at our Public Works Academy that just started, what motivates us? And I was very clear to that individual that asked that night. We are motivated by the desire to serve our community. We all live here. Many of us grew up here, and we're dedicated to the community we serve. And we appreciate the opportunity to serve you. And again, we hope you'll join us in the celebration week after next in National Public Works Week. Thank you. Yeah, y'all got to tighten up. Come on in here.
Make like you like each other. Not that much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for what you guys do. Alrighty. At this time, we will consider the removal of items from the consent agenda and adoption of the entire agenda as presented. Removal of any item from the consent agenda would only be necessary if any member of City Council wishes to vote on a specific item separately, and a motion would be required. Therefore, a motion is in order to adopt the agenda as presented at this time. Councilman Williams?
Move for approval.
Got a motion for approval from Councilman Williams, Vice Mayor Ward.
Second.
Second from Vice Mayor Ward. Is there any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, council members prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, please record the vote.
The motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
Madam Clerk, are there any agenda speakers at this time?
No, Mayor Dimon.
Would you please present the consent agenda items for consideration?
Item number 7, a resolution electing to provide VRS enhancement hazardous duty retirement benefits for full-time emergency medical technicians and paramedics. Item number 8, an ordinance to accept and appropriate a Walmart community grant for the City of Suffolk's Sheriff's Department. Item number 9, an ordinance to accept and appropriate funds from the Virginia Risk Sharing Association for the City of Suffolk's Risk Management Program. Item number 10, an ordinance to accept and appropriate funds from Campbell Oil Company for the Suffolk Executive Airport. Item number 11, an ordinance to accept and appropriate funds from the Commonwealth of Virginia Department of Aviation for the Suffolk Executive Airport. And item number 12, a resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into agreements with the localities of Region 5 for the purposes of obtaining grant funding from the Virginia Opioid Abatement Authority.
Mr. Manager, please provide an overview of the items.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, item 7, currently the fire department utilizes part-time paramedics and/or medically trained firefighters to staff ambulance within the city. The fire chief desires to recruit and retain full-time paramedics to assist in staffing the ambulance. To assist with the recruiting and retention of paramedics and to compete with neighboring jurisdictions, City Council's favorable consideration to provide VRS enhanced hazardous duty retirement benefits at a rate of 1.5% retirement multiplier is recommended. In regards to item 8, the city has received $2,500 from Walmart in support of the Sheriff's Department Community Outreach Program. The funding will be used to purchase supplies. Adoption of the ordinance will increase the revenues and expenditures of the consolidated grants funds by the $2,500 and no local match is required. Item 9, the city has received $5,000 from the Virginia Risk Sharing Association to assist with the purchasing of noise monitoring devices and to provide audiograms for 100 employees. Adoption of the ordinance will increase the revenues and expenditures of the Consolidated Grants Fund by $5,000. No local match is required. In regards to item 10, the city has received $15,000 from the Campbell Oil Company in support of the Suffolk Executive Airport. A signed contract between the city and Campbell Oil Company includes a one-time incentive of $15,000 to be used at the discretion of the city for costs associated with aviation fuel. The funds will be used to construct a deck at the back of the terminal. Adoption of the ordinance will increase the revenues and expenditures of the Aviation Facilities Fund by $15,000, and there's no local match. In regards to item 11, the city has received $4,181.62 from the Commonwealth of Virginia Department of Aviation in support of the Suffolk Executive Airport. The funds will be used to assist with the replacement of a fuel transfer pump for the generator that services the runway lights. Adoption of the ordinance will increase the revenues and expenditures of the Aviation Facilities Fund by the $4,181.62. Local match of $1,045.40 is required and is provided by the FY 22-23 Aviation Facilities Fund budget. In regards to item 12, staff is requesting authorization from the City Council to enter into agreements with localities of Region 5 of the Department of Behavioral Health and Development Services to be eligible to pursue regional grant opportunities from the Virginia Opioid Abatement Authority. The grants will assist with the abatement and remediation of the opioid crisis within the Commonwealth.
If there are no questions about the items, a motion is in order to approve the consent agenda as presented. Councilman Fawcett.
Mayor, if I could just ask the manager to clarify item 8. I heard 1.5 instead of 1.85.
It's 1.85. I thought
Okay,
that's
thank you.
That's it.
All right. Move to approve, Mayor.
A motion for approval from Councilman Fawcett. Councilman Bennett.
Second.
Second from Councilman Bennett. Is there any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, council members prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, please record the vote.
The motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
We'll now move to public hearings. We do have a public hearing this evening, which is a public hearing to receive public comment on the proposed fiscal year 2023-24 citywide effective real estate tax increase due to reassessment of 12.51%. Mr. Manager, please provide an overview.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, the Director of Finance, Teelin Hansen, will provide the staff report.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council. As the manager said, I'm going to provide a very brief staff report as it relates to this public hearing. So the state code requires the city to hold a public hearing to either reduce the real estate tax rate if the reassessment excluding new construction exceeds 1%, or have this public hearing. And so we are asking to have a public hearing related to the reassessments because, as the manager stated, they were increased by 12.51% due to reassessment for fiscal year 23-24. After the public hearing, I will come and do another brief staff report on the proposed fiscal year 23-24 operating budget. And at that point in time, City Council can consider adoption of the proposed operating budget as it has been amended. I do want to point out that we have included the 2-cent tax credit in the proposed fiscal year 23-24 operating budget, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about that in the next staff report. But at this point in time, we'll have the public hearing on the reassessments being over 12.51%. And at the conclusion of which I can answer any questions that you have.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hanson. Before we open the public hearing, Madam Clerk, will you please explain the timing system?
This is a public hearing, and each speaker is asked to provide their name and their address, and will receive 3 minutes to offer their comments.
This is a public hearing. Will the first speaker please come forward and provide their name and address? Do we have anyone present who would like to speak to this ordinance? Hearing none, this public hearing is now closed. What happened? Oh, we got one. There we go.
Good evening. My name is Julia Young, 5000 Summer Harvest Lane, Suffolk, Virginia. I'm not real sure if I'm understanding correctly what is being put on the table as far as public hearing is concerned, concerning real estate property taxes. Is that residential, the residential property taxes? The proposal is to increase by 12%, or is it something else?
It does include residential and business, all real estate. It's not a tax increase per se. Some folks may not get any tax increase. It's based on the additional assessments amount citywide. So the citywide assessments went up an average of 12.51%. Some individuals may have actually gone down, some would have stayed the same, and some could be considerably higher. So when that effective rate is what we're talking about, not the tax rate itself, that is not going up, but the effective rate across the city is because of the increased assessed values, if that helps any.
I'm thinking maybe so, but as we go forward discussing this particular issue, if residential has additional questions, because I do have an issue with the assessment for Suffolk, as well as my tax, real estate taxation. I do have an issue with that, so I wanted to make sure I could speak on that, because it's just very high for senior citizens at this point. And I am a senior citizen, as you can see, and for it to increase, or even the thought of reassessment or a property increase is just far beyond my comprehension as far as taking care of the community is concerned. Thank you.
We have our next speaker, please. Do we have anyone else who would like to speak at this time? Hearing no additional speakers, this public hearing is now closed. There's no action necessary at this time, as the ordinance to effectuate the real estate rate for fiscal year 2023-24 is actually included in item number 14. Number 14 is an ordinance for the adoption of the proposed operating and capital budget for fiscal year 2023-24 and related ordinances as amended. Mr. Manager, please provide an overview.
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, at your April 19th City Council meeting, a public hearing was held on the proposed FY 23-24 operating and capital budget. Prior to your action this evening, and that public hearing was closed. Prior to your action on the proposed budget this evening, Director of Finance, Tila Hansen's at the podium to give you a brief overview of the proposed budget highlights, including any requested amendments. Tila?
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Good evening again, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council. So I am going to give a brief overview of the proposed budget as it has been amended as directed by Council. So the chart that's in front of you shows what we had originally proposed in the city manager's proposed budget for all 17 funds of the city, and the amended column shows what the amended budget looks like. And you can see that the original proposal was a total of $885,072,810 across all the various funds of the city, including the school's operating budget. The amended budget has come down to a total of $879,028,516 based on what has been directed by City Council. So those amendments include real estate tax relief of 2 cents of a 2-cent credit per $100 of assessed value. Very quickly, there was a discussion about 2 cents versus a 2% credit. However, when we looked at the state code, based on what the state code allows when dealing with the city council setting the tax rate, the 2-cent credit was more in line with what was allowed through state code as it relates to current year or proposed budgets for the upcoming year. What this did to the general fund was this decreased the transfer to the capital projects fund related to capital contingency, and so that is the amended decrease that you saw in the general fund. In the capital projects fund, that same $3 million has been decreased out of the capital contingency funding, bringing the capital contingency funding from $12.9 million down to $9.9 million in the capital projects fund. The other amendment that has been made was to the water and sewer utility fund, and that was to adjust the equivalent residential units. Were originally projected at 500 for next year, and we've readjusted those to 550. And what that does is bring the average customer increase that was proposed at $6.75 or 6.6% down to an average bill of $4.45 per month, which is a 4.4% increase, not including anything that HRSD might do. So next steps, you've already held the public hearing for the proposed real property tax increase due to the reassessment. And then the next step would be that you are able to consider adopting the proposed or the amended, fiscal year 23-24 operating and capital budgets as they have been amended. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. The aforementioned ordinances have been presented for council's consideration. Questions, comments, or a motion would be in order. What's the pleasure of council? Councilman Fawcett?
Just a little brief statement that I'd like to make. I think it's an overall good budget. I think you all did a fabulous job in your departments and all the departments throughout the city. I just have one little thing that kind of gets in my crawl about this, and, we're not going to break the bank here, but 2 cents is nothing to the average person. You might get a trip or two through Chick-fil-A on your savings. So I'm just saying I'm a little opposed of the 2 cents. I think that this council could have been a little more aggressive on the tax rate, being that we had a substantial amount of money this year due to our tax increases on our assessments. So I'm just going to put that out there. I'm just not quite happy with that. I will support the budget because it's where we're at this point, but I just wanted to make my displeasures about that known to the public. So with that, Mayor, I will go ahead and ask for the budget to be approved as it's been presented.
Can we get a motion for approval from Councilman Fawcett? Do I hear a second, or any other questions or comments? Councilman Williams.
Second that, Mayor.
We get a second from Councilman Williams. Is there any further discussion of the motion? Councilman Rector?
Yeah, I just have a quick question, and this might be one for the assessor, but I know that people have been before him and his group, challenging their assessments, and I was just wondering how, A, that was going, and B, will that have any, I realize it probably won't be as significant, but will that have any impact on the numbers that we've been looking at?
I can't answer the question as it relates to how his assessment hearings have been going, but we don't anticipate as far as the budget goes, we don't anticipate any adjustments to the budget related on anything that comes through that, but I'll let him address your first question.
Thank you, Councilman. Mayor, Vice Mayor, we have concluded our informal hearing process. The Board of Equalization applications deadline was May the 1st. We have quite a few of those. That's normal. We're still going through them and trying to work them out before they go to the board. But it's been no more appeals than we had last year. It's actually a few less than we had last year. So I think we've done a pretty good job managing those and working with the public on the issues that they presented. So.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Does anyone else have any questions for the assessor while he's here? I don't want to say, Councilman Bennett?
On the assessor, you said the appeal process has already closed,
Yes, sir.
so the lady that just came up, she cannot, it's too late for her.
I think
To make
she
an-
submitted an appeal. Did Ms. Young? Yes, she did.
Oh, she did, okay.
She did.
I just wanted to make sure she knew that. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bott. Is there any other discussion of the motion? We have a motion for approval from Councilman Fawcett, seconded by Councilman Williams. Is there any other discussion? Before I call for the vote, I do have just a few comments. Number one, I want to thank the city manager, Ms. Hanson, and her staff for doing exactly what we asked to be done when we were first presented with the budget, which was to provide some relief as far as the water bill was concerned, how we could keep the water rates down. We've cut those. Yes, there is a little increase, but that's been reduced by about a third. And I appreciate you doing that, finding a way to make it work. We asked to amend the budget to allow for what at the time was at 2%, but it's about the same thing, but it's just what equates to a 2-cent reduction in the interest rate, which I believe is between $2.5 and $3 million, somewhere in that neighborhood, in tax relief. So last year we had increased, we actually, just to refresh everybody's memory, last year we actually reduced the permanent tax rate from 111 to 109. This year, in essence, for the year, not permanently, but at least for the year, now we've reduced the effective rate from 109 to 107. So the two together, I think, at least send a message that we are not insensitive to the tax burden that's being placed on the citizens. We're not insensitive to the inflation concerns. Yes, we had a good year last year. We had a good year this year. But in my opinion, looking forward through this year, I don't think you're going to see anywhere near the type of increase that we've had in property values over the last 2 years. And this is just me speaking. But looking at the economy and interest rates, I think we're going to see a slowdown. So next year, when we're revisiting this same issue, then we will have the latitude to make adjustments at that time. But if you look at our budget, what we have in the capital budget, what we have set up as far as contingencies are concerned, we have a lot of major projects that need to be done that are millions and millions and millions of dollars. And we have no deficit spending. I mean, we can reach into our reserves, but if we reach into our reserves, if we have to reach into our reserves to take advantage of an opportunity that may come our way, then that also does not send a good message to the rating agencies. Because one of the factors they're always looking at is, what do you have in reserve? Same way in your household. How much money do you have set aside in the event that there's an emergency? So I think that we are being fiscally responsible. I think we're listening to our citizens and making allowances where we can, all that they be conservative. I think that is the prudent thing to do. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there, give people my thoughts. Unfortunately, I can't have you come back up again, but we can talk after the meeting. I will be here after the meeting. And with that being said, we have a motion for approval from Councilman Fawcett, a second from Councilman Williams. I'll ask one more time, are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, council members prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, please record the vote.
Motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
We do have a resolution this evening to adopt the fiscal year 2023-24 annual action plan for the City of Suffolk's Community Development Block Grant Program, CDBG, and the Western Tidewater Home Consortium Home Investment Partnership Program, HOME. Mr. Manager, please provide an overview.
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Also at your April 19th meeting, you held a public hearing on our annual action plan. And prior to your action on the item this evening, Kevin Wine, our Director of Planning and Community Development, will provide a very brief presentation.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, I've given this presentation. This would be the third time at this point, so I'm just going to skip to the highlights. But this is for the adoption of the annual action plan as it relates to allocations pertaining to the CDBG, that's Community Development Block Grant Program, and the home grant partnerships. The city works with the Western Tidewater localities and is the lead agency on the home consortium. So we work with them to allocate funds on their behalf. But in essence, what this plan does is outline allocations for almost $500,000 of CDBG funds, which are a very flexible program. Those funds stay in the city of Suffolk, and we can utilize those for a variety of things, from building curb and gutter sidewalks in neighborhoods to offering some assistance to low-income housing tax credit developers. Home is really related to encouraging home ownership among low-income individuals, and the Home Consortium in total has $426,831 associated with it. So they're very similar, but the plan outlines this. This is some of our partners for CDBG funds. We partner with agencies like Western Tidewater Free Clinic for Kids, the Geneva Shelter, and the Boys and Girls Club, and we work with the Suffolk Redevelopment Housing Authority through their emergency home repair program. Here are our home allocations. The activities of all four members takes up most of that. We work with Habitat for Humanity as well as our development organization, and about $76,000 or so goes there. We gave you a staff report and overview back in early April at this point. A public hearing was held April 19th, and tonight it is presented for your favorable adoption. That concludes my presentation. I can stand by.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wine. Council resolution has been presented for consideration. Councilman Fawcett.
Move to approve, Mayor.
Got a motion for approval, Councilman Fawcett. Councilman Johnson.
Second.
Second from Councilman Johnson. Is there any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, council members prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, please record the vote.
The motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
We have no staff reports this evening. We do have a motion to schedule a city council work session for Wednesday, May 17th, 2023 at 4 p.m. Unless canceled, and a motion would be in order. Councilman Rector.
So moved.
Got a motion for approval from Councilman Rector. Councilman Johnson.
Second.
Second from Councilman Johnson. Is there any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, council members, please prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, please record the vote.
Motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
We'll now move to non-agenda speakers. Madam Clerk, do we have any non-agenda speakers?
Yes, Mayor Dubin, we do have non-agenda speakers this evening. Each person participating under the item of business entitled non-agenda speakers shall limit their remarks to the services, policies, and affairs of city government and shall be permitted 5 minutes for the purpose of presenting his or her matter. Speakers appearing before City Council will not be permitted to participate in the following activities: to campaign for public office, engage in personal attacks, promote private business ventures, or use vulgar language. Speakers who violate these rules will be declared out of order by the presiding officer and will immediately yield the floor and be seated. Our first speaker is Joseph L. Bass, 1553 Moores Point Road, representing self regarding youth violence and character development.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, as was just said, I am Dr. Joseph L. Bass. I live at 1533 Moores Point Road, obviously in Suffolk. I will say that this is much better than not being able to talk until after midnight the last time. So here, this is good.
Yeah, I don't think you get an argument there.
My topic for discussion this evening deals with character development and youth violence. My academic and work experience focuses on motivational psychology and early childhood development. My main message is that if you're going to improve our now violent society, focus will have to be on early childhood development in home and family environments. By the time a child is 3 or 4 years of age, his or her life's path is fairly well set. Having been a teacher in university demonstration preschools, it is possible to discern a 3-year-old's future path. A child's destined to be a librarian or an engineer is apparent. The child most likely to spend time in prison can be identified by attitudes and behaviors. In all cases, parenting and home environments are major factors in forming a child's future. I sometimes wonder if people think about the kind of society envisioned by Dr. Martin Luther King and Frederick Douglass. Based on current public dialogues and government programs like the ones incorporated in the budget you just approved, it seems that their ideas and dreams are forgotten. Their envisioned society would not include hatred of others based on past deeds. People would be judged based on their character, capabilities, and self-reliance. There would be equality of opportunity for citizens to succeed or fail based on their own decisions and actions. There would be no double standards. Citizens would recognize and honor the results of our system of government and justice. In such a society, parents will raise their children to understand and value this type of social structures. Today's systematic racism and violence are the results of not having the society Dr. King and Frederick Douglass envisioned. A brief background on slavery might help understanding. Wealthy, powerful societies based on slavery have existed in human history for thousands of years. They actually predate written history. Every race of people has been enslaved during this time. Under this type of class-based society, a large percentage of the populations creates wealth for a few. Other people live poor, uneducated, unarmed, enslaved, and dependent on handouts and permissions from the powerful, wealthy few. America, like all nations before it, was formed as a class-based society that included slavery. We attempted to transition into a nation based on equality following the Civil War, but we failed. From the Compromise of 1877 until the mid-1960s, Jim Crow perpetuated a class-based society based on many workers being uneducated, unarmed, and dependent through various different standards and debt. Lyndon Johnson's War on Poverty perpetuated a class of people legally dependent on handouts with efforts to keep the people uneducated and unarmed. The CEO of McDonald's makes $18 million a year, but there is an excess of poorly educated, unmotivated workers only able to work for low wages, some flipping burger patties. How different is Suffolk today from how it was in 1840? Some improvements have been made, but we still have a long way to go. In Hampton Roads today, our economy suffers from the lack of engineers, skilled workers, medical doctors, teachers, and so on. We have far too many young males in prison, many of whom grew up in welfare-dependent houses, but migrated to gang membership to have a family. If we are going to have a society envisioned by Dr. King and Frederick Douglass, we need to understand their ideas and utilize them to improve our society for the betterment of all. Many of today's improvements, that's quoted, programs are counter to their concepts, fostering and supporting division, hatred, and the second Jim Crow. So those are my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Gloria Samara, 8313 Hudgens Circle, representing self regarding ditches and standing water.
Hello again. I want to thank you for your first effort, but now I still have another problem. I went to the office to get them to fix the ditch. They did that, but then I have a person in the community that insists that they are in control of the community. I went out, and the ditch is still giving water. But now I've been told that we can't get it fixed because the person who's in charge of the community, not the mayor, we have our own mayor, says we can't do anything for me to get the water. Well, that ditch now has a hole in the pipe, and it's giving me water constantly, not a minute, not an hour, all day. And the water's spreading down, let me see how my community goes. It goes like this. So from over here, there's what do they call those things? I can't think of it right now because, see, I'm going to get mad about what I'm saying, so I'm just going to try and keep calm. But this is what I've been told. I called the city. They came to check it out. The hole in the ditch is in the pipe. And they said, no, we can't do this because this pipe belongs to one of the people that live in the neighborhood. I said, what are you talking about? It belongs to her? Yes. We won't touch this pipe because it doesn't belong to the city. Well, the pipe is in the city ditch. The water is in the well in the front that stems out. Over here, there's a house. The land is leaving because the water is constantly moving through the land. Now I'm going to have the same problem because that water won't be shut off until the city decides to shut it off. If they don't shut it off, that's a continuance. I lived in Florida, and that was their problem. The people would do whatever they did whatever they wanted to do. And eventually, the sinkholes began. So in a whole community, it was disappearing because of the sinkhole and the people not allowing the water to be shut off to continue on and on and on and on. So that's what I'm dealing with now. I don't know how long I'll be in a situation where I can live in my grandmother's house. It might be long, it might not. I know the houses on the other side they're losing their grass. The ground is going back to the house. Over on this side, the ditches are getting bigger. Where I am is where the hole is. And when I called them, they told me they were not going to touch a certain person's ditch. I didn't know we had private ditches. I thought they belonged to the city, but I guess not. So if they do belong to private people, I need to know. Because that means I have to do all the work that somebody else has caused. And I don't think that's fair to me or the people around me. Because new houses are coming. They don't know what's really happening in that community. But if I get crazy enough, I'll tell them. When they start to build, I'll tell them what's happening to not build there. Because we have our own mayor, and it's you and that other person too. So if that person decides that they don't want things to happen in that community, it will not happen, as I'm finding out. So if you tell me that's the case, I'll understand that you have no authority in what goes on in that community. None. It's on somebody else's watch. So then I can just move out, won't be able to sell, because the water will be dripping out constantly. And I know for a fact that person will not give me assistance to plug it up. It'll stay just like it is until there's no more houses in that community, because that's what's happening in Florida. They're called sinkholes. And it's happening behind water. Not from the state or the water out in the ocean. It's happening behind it. Things in your yard. Now, we don't have any assistance. So I want to know if there will be any assistance, or do I have to keep looking at the hole in my yard getting bigger and bigger, the ditch getting bigger and bigger, the water getting higher and higher?
I'm sorry, ma'am, but that concludes your time.
That's fine.
Thank
But
you.
I'm just telling you how it goes.
Yes,
And I
ma'am.
would help, I hope you would help.
That concludes the speakers, Mayor.
Okay, at this time, Madam Clerk, are there any additions to tonight's agenda?
There is one addition to this evening's agenda, a motion to nominate and appoint Dr. Keith Emerson to the Historic Landmarks Commission.
Council, a motion would be in order. Councilman Rector,
So moved.
got a motion for approval from Councilman Rector. Councilman Johnson,
Second.
second from Councilman Johnson. Is there any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, council members prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, please record the vote.
The motion is approved by a vote of 7-0.
Council, are there any new business items that require the action of City Council for consideration? Hearing none, we'll move to announcements and comments. At this time, I'll ask Media and Community Relations Director Jennifer Moore if she has any announcements.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council, City Manager. Suffolk City Treasurer Ron Williams is hosting the first annual Suffolk Tax Relief Seminar on Monday, May 22nd from 2 to 4 p.m. here in City Hall. Topics covered at the event will include personal property tax relief opportunities on vehicles, presented by Suffolk Commissioner of the Revenue Susan Draper, as well as an overview of the real estate tax assessment process by the City of Suffolk Assessor's Office. A representative from the Department of Social Services will also be present to provide information related to applying for real estate tax relief. A Q&A session will be held at the end of the event, and participants are encouraged to ask questions and receive counseling regarding tax relief applications. There is no cost to attend the event, but advanced registration is encouraged to ensure adequate seating and materials. For more information, contact the City Treasurer's Office. The Suffolk Police Department is excited to announce Chat with the Chief to be held on Saturday, June 3rd at 11 a.m. at the One Step Forward Nutrition in North Suffolk. This community event will be an informal meet and greet session that gives residents a direct line of communication with Police Chief Al Chandler and his staff. Participants will be able to discuss public safety issues affecting our community and ask questions in a conversation-like setting. All Suffolk residents are welcome to attend the event, and future Chat with the Chief events will be held in other locations throughout the city of Suffolk to ensure convenient access for all members of the community. For more information, visit suffolkpd.com. The Suffolk Police Department is also inviting senior citizens to participate in the Senior Citizens Academy, which will be held June 7th through August 16th. The Academy offers a unique opportunity for seniors to learn more about the police department and improve their personal safety. During the Academy, this hands-on class will allow students the opportunity to learn about law enforcement history, driving course demonstrations, crime scene investigations, crime prevention, training simulations, and the SWAT team. Registration is open and the deadline for applications is May 19th. The application process includes a background check for all applicants. For more information, including the application, visit suffolkpd.com. Suffolk Public Library is proud to announce that the recognition of one of their own. Library Supervisor Shauna Lamonaco is a recipient of the 2023 Virginia Library Association Scholarship. She is currently pursuing a Master's of Library and Information Science program at Old Dominion University, and this scholarship will help her as she pursues that degree. Congratulations, Shauna. In another staff recognition out of our Public Works Department, Director Robert Lewis was awarded the John F. Ignatius Government Employee Outstanding Service Award for the Southern District Institute of Traffic Engineers. The award, named in honor of the longtime traffic engineer for the City of New Orleans, was created in 2006 to recognize outstanding contributions to the community. Robert helped charter a new Institute of Transportation Engineers student chapter at ODU and has also developed an ad hoc Young Members Committee to focus on recruiting and engaging young members to the Virginia chapter. Congratulations, Robert. The Parks and Rec Department is hiring. Interested applicants can join them for open interviews every Wednesday in May from 2 to 4 p.m. at the Parks and Rec's admin building. Upcoming dates are May 17th, 24th, and 31st. Seasonal employment opportunities include lifeguards, swim instructors, and recreation leaders. For more information, visit suffolkva.us. And the Parks and Rec Department is excited to host another year of the lunchtime bike ride for city employees and citizens to celebrate National Bike to Work Week on May 19th at noon. Bring your own bike and helmet and join us for a 3-mile bike ride through the scenic downtown Suffolk. A food truck will be on site for lunch purchases after. For more information, visit suffolkva.us. The Suffolk Farmers Market will kick off the summer season this Saturday, May 6th, at the Suffolk Visitor Center Pavilion. The market operates Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., and will continue through the fall. The market is situated at the corner of Constance Road and North Main Street, directly behind the Suffolk Visitor Center. The market offers a variety of homegrown and handmade goods. As with all market activities, admission is free and open to the public. For more information, visit suffolkvafarmersmarket.com. The Parks and Rec Department is teaming up with the United Way of Southampton Roads to host a ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Born Learning Trail on Thursday, May 11th at 10 a.m. at Lake Mead Park. This is the area's first Born Learning Trail, which offers interactive signs that encourage fun, active learning activities for young children and their families to promote early childhood education. And of course, on your screen are the various ways that residents can stay connected to the City of Suffolk happenings. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Now we'll move on to announcements from City Council, and we're going to start with Councilman Rector. Lucky you. Hold on, let me get you. Here we go. Here we go.
Well, just one. And I've deleted one of the items. And I just wanted to point out that Suffolk recently has been in the spotlight on WTKR Channel 3 News. I don't know whether any of y'all are fans of that station, but my son was a news photographer for them for several years, so we've become WTKR people in our house. But they have this thing that they refer to as the Everyday Hero Awards. And a couple of weeks ago, Sandra Merrill, who is the owner of Sugar Mama's Bake Shop, was recognized for her work with Cupcakes and Chemo. And Cupcakes and Chemo is an organization that delivers cupcakes to patients that are undergoing chemo treatments for cancer. And to date, they've estimated that Sandra's shop has donated over 5,000 cupcakes to the cause. And so she was recognized, rightfully so. It is an everyday hero. And then also, members of our fire and police just last week were also awarded with an Everyday Hero Award for their efforts. I think the fire was last April on Smith Street, and they were able to retrieve and save 2 young children. I think one was age 9 and the other one was age 3. It was Police Officer Austin Kaiser, Detective David Green, and Fire Chief Jack Knight. The only conundrum that I haven't seen resolved with that particular award yet is that they're only given 1 gift card. And so there are 3 people, so I'm not quite sure how that's been divided up yet. I don't know whether there's been a big uproar in the police or the fire department over that. But anyhow, congratulations to them. It's very well deserved. And then on Friday, the 21st of April, I attended the inauguration ceremony for Dr. Corey McCrae as the 9th head of Paul D. Camp Community College. And I know a number of us were not able to attend because that was also the day of the City of Portsmouth State of the City address, but it was a very nice event. They got a lot of good stuff going on at Paul D. Camp, and I think this whole area can be proud of the contributions that Paul D. Camp makes to our city and area as a whole. And then lastly, on the 22nd of April, I attended, I believe, what was the 6th anniversary of the celebration of ministry for Derek Grant and his wife, Shamika Grant, at St. Paul's RZUA Church over on Spruce Street. And it was a great event. The love that his family and his church and his community have for that couple and what they're doing to promote the general welfare in the city of our Suffolk was great to see. And with that, I'll say good night.
Thank you. Councilman Fawcett.
Thank you, Mayor. To piggyback off of what Councilman Rector said, the one thing about the WTKR incident with Jack Knight, who's one of my heroes, is a friend of mine, been a friend for a lot of years, a battalion chief in the fire department and a police officer I don't know personally, but a good job by those guys that are in the police department. The part you didn't see, or if you didn't see it, is the live body cam that was taking place during that video that was on the news, to where that house was involved heavily, and they did manage to go in there and retrieve 2 very young children. If you don't know anything about fire, you just need to look at that video, and within a few minutes, those children would have been gone, because there would have been no way to go and get them out. So those guys truly, nothing on, no protective gear, no breathing apparatus, made the run at it to get them to come down from a 2nd floor. That house was involved heavily. So I want to tell Jack and the police officers, that's my line of work. They're here, my heroes, every day. So they did a great job. Congratulations to Robert Lewis on his certificate there. Attended the Portsmouth City State of the Cities. I thought that the city did a great job in Portsmouth. I thought it was a great presentation that they put out. So I congratulate what they did. That was a good event. And yesterday, I want to just take this 1 minute, because this is something that occurred in our city that I think has to be mentioned. Yesterday, myself, along with Vice Mayor Ward, we attended the Small Business of the Year 2023 Hampton Roads Awards from the Chamber of Commerce. And each city they pick a Small Business of the Year. And yesterday, Suffolk was in the lineup for that Small Business Award, was the Embroidery and Print House, which is located at 5501 Bennett's Pasture Road, happens to be in my borough. And it's owned by Pam and Marshall Miller, who I've known for years because they have done that out of their garage. They moved to a place over in Driver, which they get flooded out in Driver in the village every time it rained. And they are now in that nice facility on Bennett's Pasture Road. They do a plethora of things. The one thing of key success was the quality of work and on-time delivery to their customers. The other part was the recruitment of how they recruit their people. They do employ 8+ people, including their little bloodhound that kind of is stationed in there along with them. So they do a tremendous job. It's a great place to get some embroidery done, gifts of some sort. They have a little something. Mother's Day is coming up. Keep in mind they could use a little boost. This is small business. We need to support those small businesses in order to keep them in our city working and being a viable part of our city. I applaud them for getting the award of the year for Suffolk as the small business this year in 2023. And one of our participants in the audience tonight works with her. She's sitting there, and so we have something going on out there in our end of town, and they've done a tremendous job. Please go out and support them when you can. Stop by. You'll be excited about what you see in their shop, and they can pretty much do a lot of things to give you something that can be useful to you. And Mother's Day, again, please go out and participate with them. Thank you to the city manager again, to all the city people in our city for doing a great job on the budget. I might have had a little tweak in there, but I still think you had a good budget. But I had to give my 2 cents. I'm always like you wanted to give the 2 cents back. I had to give my 2 cents. So thank you for everything. I thank you for the council tonight. It's very productive. I know we want to go home early tonight because we spent a lot of hours in here in the last meeting. So thank you very much. We'll see you on the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Before we continue, I failed to mention that Councilman Williams had to leave at 6:40, and he has been excused. With that being said, Councilperson Butler-Barlow. Oh, I forget I get all this extra work. Okay, here we go.
I know it's hard to get it straight. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate having a minute. I just want to take a minute to thank the city staff, city council, members of the community, and all the expressions of sympathy that was received for our family at the death of my father-in-law, Joseph Barlow Sr., former council member. It's been quite a couple of weeks, and I asked the rest of the council to limit their comments just because I think we have, everyone has stories to tell, and I want to hear them at another time, and appreciate them respecting my request from earlier. I know that we'll continue to celebrate and remember him, and I want to leave them with the thought that my father-in-law, first and foremost, would want all of us to get back to work doing the business of the city, and I know doing the work at our farm, and he would think that this was enough and would be pleased with all of the comments, but also, like I said, would expect all of us to get back to work and to normal. So thank you again, and I'll say goodnight after that.
Councilman Bennett?
Thank you. I just had a couple of things. I really want to thank Parks and Rec for all the information that they are putting out there for the summer for our youth. And to have something for K through 18. And I'm hoping that people will really take advantage of that so the kids will have some activity that they can be participating in when they're out of school and not getting in trouble. So I think it's a lot that's being offered to them. And I hope the parents and guardians and all will take the time out to get those kids involved and participating in something. It's a lot of things that they can do. So I think that will take a lot of excuses. They don't have anything to do. So I encourage all the parents and all to please look at the brochure and try to get the kids involved with something to do during the summer when they're out of school. Also, I'd like to say that Chief Chandler, I think you're doing a smart thing going out in the community, meeting with the people in the different communities to see what they are saying so you can hear some of the things that we are hearing, so that you'll be getting it firsthand from the citizens. And I think you're opening yourself up to go out and do that. And I do appreciate you and your staff for going out and meeting the people and talking about their concerns of what's taking place in the community. So I want to say thank you for that. And Public Works, they're gone, but I got my blue hat, and I definitely will wear it. It's a good color. And I wanted to wear it up in the night, but they said it wouldn't look too good sitting up on the dais with the blue hat on. But they are really, really hard-working men and women out there, and we cannot thank them enough for what they really do each and every day to keep our city clean and going, the road, potholes, and streets, and everything that they are doing. So again, I want to thank them very much for all that they have done. On the budget, I think that there are some other things that we have to continue to look at. I was glad to see we was able to keep the water rates down. That was something I heard a lot about before the budget time. So we talked to the manager, and he was able to do some tweaking. Came down a little bit from what he had anticipated putting out there. So I'd appreciate that effort as well. So with that, we say we want to try to get out earlier tonight. I'll save my other comments to next meeting. Thank you.
Councilman Johnson?
Two will be brief.
One other thing. I had jotted down.
One more.
One other thing. Hold on.
I had to jot it down and didn't look at my last note.
Hold on, let me ask a question. Do we need to have a motion for him to do one other thing?
Well, I haven't
Okay,
had my
just
5
checking.
minutes yet, Mayor.
Okay.
But the train station, we used to have a train station right at Penner Street and East Washington Street, a passenger train station. And we've been talking about trying to get a train, and I'm seeing it everywhere, people calling me and asking, what are we doing about trying to get a train station in Suffolk? I hope we look at that, and I don't know if we can't redo the old train station and start having that train stop back in Suffolk.
Well, where we're at right now, of course, it was on your legislative agenda this
Right.
past year, and we've moved on with our legislative liaisons are doing some groundwork for us. We've got to start in certain areas to get that going. And of course, it's not going to be a switch on, switch off type effort, but we are working on it.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Councilman Johnson?
All right, tonight's been a night of positives. I mean, it's good every once in a while we just get on a positive page, but Teresa Earle started us off with the library, Parks and Rec, and tourism, and what a remarkable summer we have planned for our youth and for everyone in the city. I'm very, very excited. Police Week, Public Works Week. If you looked at those Public Works officials sitting back there, and of course our police that we see every day, we are truly blessed. We have people that work their jobs in Suffolk to look after us, and I think our citizens are very, very thankful. I say thank you to Ron Williams for conducting a real estate tax relief program for the citizens to tell them what's available. You know, with what's happened in the world as far as our taxes going up, we had no choice as far as I can see because of the way the real estate assessments are. But I think we as a council have dealt with it in a very positive way. I, for one, am looking forward to this budget. I think this budget is going to give us great things in the next year. We have so many positives going forward, and we have so many projects we want to see done. And I can't thank this council enough, because I think we have a council now that is ready to move ahead for our city and for the people that live here. And I think we all feel that way, so I feel very fortunate to be a part of it. And I look to great things happening next year. So with that, I'll say good night.
Vice Mayor Ward?
Yes, I'd like to thank Dr. Bass for that information that he shared with us. Some of the things that he shared is most things is very educational. And I just like to send my last with that. I think people must care about what's going on. And that's it. Stop pushing that you don't have this, having excuses. Everybody's excuse, but thank you so much for that information. People must care. I'd like to congratulate Mr. Lewis. I think great job you do for the city of Suffolk. And also like to congratulate the print shop. Like Councilman Foster said, we was there, and being a small business is hard, and it's really hard, and I appreciate that because I know what the small business obligations are and how you have to change when there's a detour, and I appreciate that, and I thank Roger for explaining or sharing that with the city. The program is a good guide. I mean, I looked over this and I looked at it, and the presentation was really impressed me. And like I said, my concerns are people in College Square, all of Suffolk, but College Square, Huntersville, and also Pewsville, because to witness during the summertime the kids that's playing in the street and have no activities that they could really go to, and notice now with this program, I hope they fulfill and see that they can get somehow the kids to these places. And I think the advertisement, if you put it up around the community, certain areas, I think the people will be glad to know that they can share or have somewhere to take the youth. And they also said up to 17, but I'm so glad they got something for the senior citizen too. So I seen that. I looked at that, and that's good too. I just wanted to ask Al, I know if the lady that came up about the piping, is all that true, or somebody said we can't fix it because they own the property? I don't even, is that true?
I'll have to get with staff and look at it. What
Okay.
I think we're dealing with here is our ditch and then the Hobson artesian well system.
Okay, so like I said, when they come up here and say, we don't have authority to do this, and we don't do this, sometimes they don't understand certain things, but like I said, I think this council is one of the best councils I have worked with over the years. And I really appreciate our effort in trying to do or make the citizens of Suffolk understand that we work for you. You elect us in there, and I think, like I said, most of the councilmen up here do the best we can do with authority that we have. So with that, I'll say, God bless.
Before I enter my comments, I understand that Councilman Fawcett has another word he'd like to say.
I don't normally like to interrupt, but this week the Barlow family was certainly going through some issues with the loss in their family. And I wanted to acknowledge the people that have sent me all kinds of cards and acknowledgments on the loss of my sister on Thursday. I'm still recovering in my brain over this because this is the second one I've lost in less than 2 years. So everybody that's out there, I can't thank you enough. Personally, I may not see you, but I want you to know that I thank you for giving me all your prayers, your thoughts, and your condolences to my family. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, I'll go ahead and wrap it up. We didn't have comments last time because we kind of 12:30. I think everybody was over it. And I just want to mention a few things that have transpired since then. We actually haven't had any comments since we had our retreat. And it seems like that was like a year ago, but it was only a month ago. But I thought it was a very productive retreat. We had rather robust discussions about issues that had come up recently, specifically minor subdivisions, solar farms, affordable housing, and the comp plan. So I want to thank everyone here in the dais and all the staff for the job that they did put it in, and my fellow council members for their input. And we're going to continue to work on these issues that not only concern us, but more importantly, concern our citizens. I went to Tractor Supply ribbon cutting on Portsmouth Boulevard. It's kind of weird because I think it's supposed to be facing Portsmouth Boulevard, but it doesn't. It faces Nasman Parkway. I'm sorry, Nasman Parkway, near the pumping station. No pumping station. Nasman Parkway. So yeah, it faces the wrong way. But it's a great store. I mean, it's a very nice store in the right location. I got an opportunity to talk to the manager. I suggest you stop by there. Western Tidewater Free Clinic had a groundbreaking the next day for their new dental clinic expansion. What they've been able to accomplish in the time they've been there has just been, hard to believe, and just an unbelievable benefit to not only our citizens, but citizens in the Western Tidewater area. And a lot of that is not only the staff and the board, but also the volunteers that put their time in to make it work. So my hat's off to them. We had a diversity and inclusion presentation here in council chambers for the city that I came to. I appreciate the manager having that. It was very well attended. Portsmouth, Norfolk State of the City, did attend both of those, get a little better idea of what's going on in our region, which one of the things that, or one of the attitudes that I think has changed over the last decade or so has been the relationship between the Hampton Road cities, where there used to be infighting and competition lots of times for funds, be it transportation, attracting other businesses, and there still might be a little competition there. But for the most part, everybody's working together as a region to have that one big voice as a region, to go over those big dollars, state and federal dollars, because really what benefits one Hampton Road city benefits all of us. So it's a real pleasure to see the other mayors coming to other cities, state of the cities, in a relationship that we've developed over the last couple of years. The Pilot Club had their state convention at the Hilton Garden the following day. Ran into a friend of mine I hadn't seen pretty much since college. She'd retired from the city at Chesapeake, and she was representing the Pilot Club in Chesapeake. But Leah Powell and their group did a great job. Suffolk was represented well. The Earth and Arts Festival at Westminster. Unfortunately, the weather got a little nasty, but there were some folks out there. Very well done, had some unique things there. The VA Cemetery groundbreaking. I don't know if you've been to the VA Cemetery, the Albert Horton VA Cemetery, but if you just have a little time on your day off or on a Sunday, it's worth the trip to go by there. It's not Arlington, but when you look at the rows and rows of headstones perfectly aligned, and it just, it gets pretty emotional when you think about it. That is a state-operated VA cemetery, unlike Arlington, which is federal. This is a state. I think the state has 3 VA cemeteries, and they're doing an expansion, but the groundbreaking was for a smaller structure to house their honor guards. So what has happened, of course, all of the individuals interned there are veterans, and veterans are entitled to a military honor guard. But what happens sometimes is they don't make it, not due to any fault of their own. It could be traffic, it could be an emergency that came up. So you've got a funeral scheduled, and the family's expecting an honor guard, and it doesn't show. There's really not much you can do about it. So what they formed is a volunteer honor guard. And they've got 50 or 60 members now that are going to be on standby and have a schedule. So every family will have the comfort in knowing that they are going to have an honor guard when their loved ones are there. So it's just, just how they continue to improve and how the public respects our veterans, and you have these volunteers that are out there willing to provide that service. So my hat's off to the cemetery and also to the volunteers. Later on that day, I went to the SEMA annual revival, and SEMA is the Suffolk Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance. Now, you may think that's easy to say, but I've been practicing for a year. Interdenominational is probably the only 8-syllable word that I own, that I know, but I got it down, and they have a revival every year. It was at St. Paul's on Spruce Street. I believe Councilman Bennett was there. Maybe anybody else there? But it was, it's a 3-day revival. The first day normally, revolves, or government officials and that sort of thing. So I normally don't plan on hanging around for a 2-hour revival. It's kind of not my thing. But I was there for the whole 2 hours. There's some change. I was tired when I got there, and in about 5 or 10 minutes, I was just, for some reason, I got recharged really quick. So I figured I'd wait and see what happened during the rest of the 2 hours. So it was a great event. I appreciate everything that they do to give back to the community and make a positive influence. 4 kids had a presentation talking about some initiatives that they're having there and how they've contributed to our community. Lake Prince Woods, there's a lot of stuff going on. They had a philanthropy luncheon at the Hilton Garden on the 26th that honored Dr. Leroy Howell. And for those of you that know or may not know Dr. Leroy Howell, he's been around for a long time, involved in the community, much like Mr. Barlow. I put him just about on the same deal there. And he was honored for everything he does, all his volunteer work. He was instrumental in Lake Prince Woods getting to where they are now. And I enjoyed being there. Went to the State of the Port, which everybody knows the port is absolutely smoking. They are breaking every number they've ever had and forecast to keep on a steady progression. And before it's over with, they will be the #1 port on the East Coast. There's no doubt about it, which is a huge economic catalyst for the Hampton Roads area. The Suffolk Education Gala, I told you a lot of stuff going on. Suffolk Education Gala was also the 27th. The great part about that is we got to see some kids perform the arts, either singing or dancing. We had all kinds of stuff going on. But we got a very talented group of students in our city. Make no mistake about it. We really do, and they got to show off their talents. Riddick's Folly had a little annual event. I don't know if they call it a dinner event or whatever, but they had that last Friday. If you haven't been to Riddick's Folly, it's worth a trip, right by the visitor center. And I think one of the displays that they have, if you will, is upstairs that pertains to Governor Godwin. I guess is still there, where it goes back to the history of Governor Godwin, along with the Riddick's Folly. So it's worth a visit there. We talked about the work session. We had a presentation as to what's going on in our city. Vice Mayor held this little book up, program guide. It's amazing what goes on in our city. I couldn't possibly keep up with it. And how Parks and Rec and the library and tourism, our volunteer organizations, the Cultural Arts Center, the Suffolk Art Gallery, they all work together to put on events that our citizens can attend with their kids and just immensely contribute to our quality of life. Now, I also want to recognize the passing of Councilman Fawcett's sister, Mary Ellen, I believe her name is, Mary Ellen. I wasn't sure that Councilman Fawcett was going to be able to be here this evening, but he took a trip to California, and he said, I'm going to find a way to make it back, and lo and behold, he made it back. I appreciate you taking that effort. I'm sorry for your loss. It's hard to lose a sister. I've been there, especially when they're younger. But our thoughts are with you. And as mayor, Councilmember Butler Barlow had suggested that she didn't want a bunch of folks really talking about her father-in-law because she's been doing it for 2 or 3 days, and she knows how windy we can all get. And when it comes to Mr. Barlow, there would be a lot to talk about. So she asked if I could be the one to make a few comments, and I want to thank her for that. will bring some of this up at the State of the City, so it's probably a good idea that I'm practicing now. But my relationship with Joe Barlow was maybe a little differently because he was my predecessor on city council. And during from the time that I was elected, he was always free with his advice and would call with some encouragement or just say, hey, I watched you on TV, that was pretty good. One of the most genuine, honest individuals I've ever had the good fortune to know. Just to give you an idea of what he had done in his lifetime, and I couldn't begin to touch on it. I mean, he served in the U.S. Air Force. He was on the State Board of Agriculture. He served on the Suffolk School Board and was also chairman of the Suffolk School Board. He's on the Board of Visitors of Virginia Tech and was governor of the Jamestown Society. And in 1985, he was selected and recognized as the first citizen by the Suffolk Rotary Club. I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there. If anybody has any problem with me and what I'm doing up here or what I've done in the past, you can blame it on Mr. Barlow. I'm going to put it on him, blame it on Mr. Barlow, because I was not involved in anything until he picked up the phone one day and said, Mike, would you be willing to serve on the Economic Development Authority in 2009, beginning of 2009. So he started that little ball rolling. Little did he know what he was getting into when he asked me to do that, but it gave me an opportunity the last 13 years to give back a little bit more, or at least I feel like I'm giving back that I may not have had the opportunity to do. And I'm ever thankful for that. I'm thankful for his friendship over the years. I've got another couple of stories, but I'm going to save them for later. But I'm just going to wrap it up in a nutshell. Anybody who knew this man is better off because they did. I'll say it one more time. He was one of the most honorable men I've ever met, and I'm sure he'll be missed by everyone who did have that good fortune to know him. And in my hurry tonight, I forgot to do a quote. So I'm going to do one of my favorite quotes off the top of my head, and that's by Maya Angelou. I think I pronounced her name right. Is that right? Maya Angelou. And her best quote in the whole world, and it may not be exactly right because I'm just doing it from memory, but it is, people will forget what you've said, people will forget what you've done, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And if you look back, I mean, that is one of the most profound statements that I think you can make. Because people will eventually forget what you've done. They will eventually forget what you've said. But they definitely won't forget how you made them feel. And if in our interactions every day we can take a little bit more time, maybe just a little bit more empathy, and just think before we say or do something is, how is it going to make that person feel? Because that's what they'll remember. And with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. We have a motion from Councilman Fawcett.
Move to approve, Mayor. Thank you.
A motion to adjourn from Councilman Fawcett, Vice Mayor Ward.
Second.
Second from Vice Mayor Ward. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, council members prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, please record the vote.
The motion is approved by a vote of 7-0.
This meeting stands adjourned.